So, hi, I'm Tyler, and this is my dad. And thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview.
Sure.
So my first question is, are there any funny stories from your time playing baseball in either high school or college?
There's a few. So let me think. So this is a funny one. So it's a little bit longer of a story.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But so let me just paint the picture there. So we were playing a team that we're going to play on Friday night, and then we're going to play them again Saturday night. Same team. So Friday night we were close game. Everything was coming down to the end, and they had their leadoff batter came up. He's the first guy up. You know, he was the leadoff batter, but he was up with 2 outs, 1 guy on base. He hits a home run to end the game. So they won the game in the bottom of the 9th walk-off.
Mm-hmm.
And so as he is running around the bases, he starts pointing at each of our players, like the second baseman to the shortstop to the third baseman. So it got kind of heated, right? Benches kind of cleared, but everybody was cool. Well, we played them the very next day. It was the same exact umpires. So same umpires from Friday night came Saturday night. You know, they saw that they almost got into a fight because there was that issue going on. And so the next day comes, and I'm down in the bullpen with the starting pitcher because I was in relief that day. And umpire comes down. The coach came down and said, "Hey, I just talked to the umpire. Like, this is your warning. We're not allowed to throw at anybody or anything like that." So our starting pitcher, he just says, "Well, you better get somebody ready because the first guy up to bat is the kid that was running around pointing at everybody. So I'm gonna throw at him. You know, not in the head or anything. But
I'll do the same thing.
I'm gonna hit him in the side." He's like, "No, you don't understand. If you throw at him, you're out of the game." You know, well, I'm just telling you. Like, so coach didn't believe him. So game starts. Very first pitch, he drills the guy, right? So he gets hit, they throw him out of the game, and the coach is all mad. He's like, I told you. So they brought in another guy, and so the game goes on, and there was like a lot of, that was pretty heated, so there was a lot of issues that came up, hard slides into second base, people pop up and argue, and the fans are going crazy. There was a lot of people there, and later on in the game, I go in, and one of the things I used to do pretty well is I used to throw strike. That was one of the reasons they had me in relief, because I could throw the ball over the plate. But for whatever reason, I was struggling. I was throwing ball. So I was getting really pissed at myself. I threw one, boom, up against the backstop. It smacks up against the backstop. The catcher comes out. He comes out, and the crowd starts going crazy. He starts walking. He's all the way to the backstop, calls timeout. He's going to come talk to me. And I pointed at him. I'm like, give me the ball. I go like this. I go, give me the ball. Just give me the ball. And then he's still coming. And I just pointed at him, do not come out here. So he threw the ball. The place was going crazy. I didn't know what that was all about. And so we get out of the inning. I come sit down on the bench. And a bunch of my players, they come over and they're like, "Dude, that was crazy what you did." I'm like, "What? You didn't see what happened?" I said, "I had no idea. I had no idea what happened." So apparently when I threw the ball behind, right over it was a bad pitch, went up against the backstop. The batter threw his bat down, took his helmet off like he was going to charge. I was looking right in, I didn't even see. I was looking right through him as the catcher was walking from behind him, and I'm going like, come on, do not come out here. And the guy was like, "This guy's crazy." Like, so he put his helmet back on. That was about it. But that was funny. It was it was just the fact that I had no clue that was going on, and I looked all tough when in fact that was not what I would have done.
No, yeah. I don't know if I've ever heard anything like that. Because I've seen players charge the mound, but obviously never seen a pitcher just be like, come on.
I just said, come on. Then I'm pointing, do not come out here like that. That was so. Yeah. But I didn't know he had done all that. I was looking right past him, so that was really funny. That was funny.
And so, did you tell the rest of the locker room that the real story, or did you go along with it kind of?
No, I totally told them. They all came. I'm like, "What? What happened?" They're like, "Man, you look like such a tough guy." Because that was not my personality.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. Yeah. There's a lot of fun fun times in baseball for sure, for sure. Speaking of, not that we only fought. This is only the second. I guess really the only 2 times. But when I was in college, we had a kind of a similar game. It was against Army, West Point.
Yeah.
And it's just whatever, got kind of heated. Sometimes that happens in college where people, they're arguing back and forth, yelling and screaming. And so the game was starting to get pretty much out of control a little bit. And then they started, the other two, they started, being a little rough, maybe throwing inside on some of our guys. And they may have hit somebody, I can't remember. Maybe they hit somebody or I don't know. And so it was towards the end. I was a senior. It was towards the end of the game, and some of the guys had decided, all right, we're going to throw at this next kid because we're pitching, we're in defense. And so it was cold, and so they're walking up and down. Take your jackets off. There's probably going to be a brawl on the mound or whatever. Get ready. He's going to throw at him. And I just said to him, I'm like, guys, I go, we're playing Army. I go, they're literally trained to kill people with their bare hands.
Yeah.
We're going to run out there and fight the West Point guys?
Yeah, you guys were a little out.
We're going to be out by... And they all looked at like, yeah, put your jackets back on. That's probably a good idea. Sorry. Drop the phone. But yeah, I thought that was a kind of a funny story. We got tons of funny stories, baseball-wise. Or good stories, for sure. I remember... I don't mean if you have something else.
What?
Do you have another question? Or
no, you can keep going.
Yeah. So, what was the other one I just had in my mind? Oh, our baseball coach in college we were good. Like we were really good. We were one of top team, whatever. But he was so disciplined, ex-military guy. Everybody just liked him because he was just really, really hard, right? We all started to realize we liked him after we had left because he totally changed once we graduated. But during that period of time, we didn't like him at all. So he was really, really tough. So I remember my freshman year, we went on the spring training trip down to Florida. So got on a flight. We were there for like a week. And so the very first day we get to the hotel, and then we're going to go to practice because we had a game the next day. And so the freshmen, their job was, somebody had to carry all the bats, right? So we had this big bat bag, and so somebody had to carry all the bats. Somebody had the balls and all the other stuff that you needed. So everybody had their job, and so we get to the field, which is like 25 minutes away. We get on the big bus. We drive all the way to the field. We get off. He tells us to go stretch. We did all of our stretching, and then we threw a little bit. And so we're into this thing for like a half an hour at least. And then he says, all right, break up into your hitting groups, because we had groups of guys that would hit together. Whatever. So break up into your hitting groups. And so everybody broke up into their hitting groups. And one of this upperclassmen was like, where are the bats? And then my buddy Joey was like, oh crap, I forgot the bats. I'm like, where are they? I thought they were in the bus. They're like, they're in the hotel. I'm like, oh no. So
and how much time was left before the game started?
No, it wasn't a game. It was just a practice. But we were going to be there for like 3 hours. We had only done like a half an hour. And we don't have any bats for baseball practice. And it was too far to go back and get them. So, so we just did a lot of running. Coach was super mad about that. But then he made my friend Joe sleep on the bats. Like he lined them up on the bed, on the hotel bed. He made him sleep on top of them. And you come in every a half an hour just to check to make sure you hadn't gotten off. You let him have a pillow, but he had to sleep on the bats. He had to sleep on top of the bats. You could have a cover and all that, but he had to sleep on top of the bats. He lined them up one after the other. There's 20 of them. Boom, 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 boom. So he slept on the bats for the whole night. He never forgot him again, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, that must have been really uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But that was funny. I thought that was there's so many of those stories. We had again, he was such a hothead, our coach, but he was fun. So one of the things that we would do, like the pitching staff, you ever seen like a neck brace? Like if you had crimped your neck, you'd have a neck brace on.
Yeah.
So somebody had a neck brace. So one of those, big thick things. So the joke was, if you gave up a home run, right, you'd pitch, and then somebody would hit it so hard that you look like that, and you hurt your neck. So because you had to wear that. So the last person to give up a home run had to wear the neck brace, like at school, like had to go to class until the next home run was hit.
Oh yeah.
So it was like super, like you're like, damn man, I want to give up one, because you give up a home run, you got to walk around campus with this neck brace on, and it could be, like, depending on the games, and maybe no home runs that game, whatever, it could be like 4 or 5 days that you're in this neck brace. So, but that went on and on. Like every time you give up a home run, you put on the neck brace. And then it got to the point where nobody wanted to wear it, right? It was, so let's say if somebody had just given up a home run, so this happened, we were playing St. John's, and there was a little creek behind the field, and so somebody gave up a home run early on, so he's like, damn, I'm gonna wear this stupid neck brace, he's all bad. And it was like the last couple innings, and then one of our other pitchers gave up a home run, and there was like 4 or 5 of us in the corner going, yes, yes, because he's got the neck brace. We're laughing, and coach did not think that was funny because we had just given up a home run.
Yeah, he was pissed.
So we get done after the game. He's like, give me that neck brace. He just had the neck brace, and he chucked it in the river. He just chucked it in the river, and it goes down the river. That was funny. Yeah, There's a lot of funny stories like that. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. But, ex-military coaches, I mean, they could be tough, but I feel like most people, they appreciate it like after the fact. You kind of realize that most of the stuff he did was, kind of good for you.
Oh, totally. Yeah, he was, completely, right after we lost our last game as a senior, he brought us all, the seniors, there was like 5 of us, into his hotel room. Completely changed. Yeah. Like totally changed. Like he was a jerk that morning, and it was like super cool that afternoon because he knew we were gone. He was, he told us, things that we didn't really understand, right? That he was just trying to, get people to, because we all joined together as a team, lack of a better term, in hatred of him. Yeah. Right? That was our common. That was one of our common things. Like we gelled because everybody hated him, and he knew it, and that was part of his thing. And he said, "I know you guys all hate me." He's like, "Well, that's what I'm trying to get you guys to be, gel together." He's like, "But I'm really not that bad a guy." Yeah. So he really wasn't. So. Yeah. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it makes sense because like I've been part of that too. Where like the locker room, like that's kind of like a good thing to talk about. Kind of like coach is annoying today, like he made us do this and that, or like what's his problem, like but it kind of like brings you closer together because it kind of gives you something to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's I think 100%, and we had a lot to talk about with him because we just had a lot. We just did a lot, and we worked really hard and had a lot of time with him, and he was like I'm trying to think, just certain things, like he just wouldn't give an inch, like anything you did, which was good. We were very disciplined, right? I mean, you couldn't do anything wrong on the field without him noticing and him just getting that. Now he rarely would say, "Hey, great job with that." It was only the negatives, right? So that was part of his strategy. But we were, in those 3 hours in the field, you were focused because you didn't want his wrath, and he would give it to you. So. And we had our pitching coach was also, this is another funny story. Wow, these things are starting to come back to my mind. So, and we didn't realize this till like years later. And then we all were texting like, no wonder. So coach he played for the Mets. And we knew that, we knew that. And so he was our pitching coach. And one of the things that he would do with us is, we would have to practice like balls hit right back to the pitcher. You call them comebackers. Like you pitch it and the ball gets hit one hopper right back to you. Yeah. And it happens once in a while. Not a lot, but it happens during a game sometimes. But But we would do those like in practice, like almost every day. And he was this big dude, and we all hated. It was scary, and he would make us, throw a fake ball, invisible, right, like this. And he'd have his ball, and wham, he'd whack it like right at you. You'd have to like stop it, and it was like, and yeah, you'd get hit like in the leg or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, maybe get your foot, and it was so stressful, but we got better at it.
Yeah.
And we all hated it. And when he was like, come backers, we were like, oh, it was scary.
No, yeah.
But we had to go through it for 4 years. And then it was like many years later, he only pitched in the majors for a little bit, maybe a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a highlight that somebody sent around of him pitching in a game. At the end of the game, the Mets were winning. It was like a comebacker right at him, and he missed it. Went right into center field. They lose the game by 2, and we're like, that's why he's on, because he never forgot that game that he lost because he didn't catch that comebacker, and that caused us to be terrified for 4 years.
Yeah, that's really funny. He must have just had that memory stuck in his head and just, I guess kind of like took it out on you guys. But,
oh, totally.
But were there any times in the game where you were kind of glad that he did that? Like, were they like...
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There were many, many times. Like there's a few things you learn, right? Like you're not going to get hit by the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like your body, like you're a good enough athlete. You're not going to be playing at that level if you can't, like you're good enough.
Yeah.
But your body will not allow you, for the most part. It's super rare that you're going to get hit with the ball because you'll just react. You might not catch it, but so you learn
the way.
You learn that, and then that definitely helps you. And then also like the discipline part that he gave us too around like how to go after, bunts or little squibbers that are around, certain ways to go about getting it. Like I remember this, he just beat it into you over years. And so it was my senior year, was it? That was one of the years that I was pitching, I remember, against UCLA. It was a close game. I was pitching, little squibber. I had to make the play. And I remember in my head, like everything that he had taught, because I was going to make it. It wasn't like the only way it wasn't going to make it if I screwed it up, dropped it, or whatever. So I ran over there, and I just remember thinking, straight back, bend at the knees, step and throw, straight. And I was saying that like 10 times as I was going after the ball, and I got it, threw it, we got out of the inning. But I always remember that, like, running to that ball, going straight back, bend at the knees, step and throw. And it was like because he just kept pounding it.
Yeah, and sometimes, the easy plays are, the most stressful. Like, like in basketball, like a wide open layup, like, it might seem easy when you're watching it, but like in the moment, like it's kind of stressful. You're like, oh, like I can't miss this. Like, the coach is going to get pissed. Like, even though you've done it like 1,000 times in practice in the backyard, but like, when you're actually in the game, like, it can be nerve-wracking. So
the easy ones are free throws. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I should make this. When it goes fast, then it's fine. You can like a hard shot. You're not going to think. Okay, you don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But so growing up, like, did you have any funny stories with your friends in like middle school, high school, or college, or even like after school, like living in New York City or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know if they're all funny. Trying to think. I think this one's kind of funny. This because it kind of dates me too. This is before like you guys have all like cell phones, texts, and all that, which is awesome. Everybody knows where everybody is. But back when I was in college, we would, if we were going to go out somewhere and meet up with people, you had to plan that ahead and be like, right, we're going to meet at this place at this time, because once you separated, there was no phone. Like, you had to go to that spot, right? So we were going to meet some friends in New York City at this place, and we had gotten there, and then we decided, there was like half of us, and we had decided that we didn't want to go there. We wanted to go somewhere across the street, but we had already told our friends that we were going to meet them at this particular place. So we're like, well, and it was still like half hour, 45 minutes before they're supposed to be there. Like, we don't want to stay here for 45 minutes, but we also don't want to just, walk out there. Like, how would they know? We're in Manhattan. They're like, what are these guys just leave,
Mm-hmm.
So there happened to be like a homeless guy right by the door of the bar,
Mm-hmm.
just collecting some money if people had extra money. So we gave him, I forget how much money, I don't know, $5, $10, I can't remember. So we gave him money and we asked him, hey, and we wrote a sign that just like had our friends' names on it, and it just said, hey, we went across the street because we were just across the street.
Yeah.
And so I said, here's some money. Just hold this sign for the next 30 minutes or whatever. And wouldn't you know it, man, like 30 minutes later, our friends came in. They're like, dude, we saw your sign. We saw the homeless guy had the sign. Now we know where you were.
Oh, yeah, that's really funny.
So that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, because growing up with cell phones, like obviously, changed everything. But I don't know. Sometimes I kind of wish I grew up in a generation without cell phones, because like I'm not saying because moments like that, but I'm like just in general, like I feel like life was a little more like simple back then, and I don't know. Phones are definitely a good thing, but
well, I think it was obviously it's different, right? I guess you could say simpler.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about this the other day. I don't know, it was over Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was talking to Grandma, and like when my dad came home from work, like he was home from work. Like there's no laptop.
Yeah.
There's no email. There's no phone. Like nobody's gonna call him on our. Like we had a phone in the house.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna get a random. Like maybe his boss might if there was some massive emergency, right? But but for all of us nowadays, it's like you're always kind of working.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you're off on the weekends, and they don't expect a whole lot, right? Because you're off. But there are certain things where if I got an email like Saturday morning from my boss, and he said it was important, and I didn't respond till like Monday, and he's probably gonna be like, "Well, dude, I sent you that on Saturday." I'm like, well, are we off on it? That doesn't work anymore, right? Everybody is so like tied in. You're so connected, which is good, I guess, because you can work from home, right? So that's nice. Where you can definitely work from home. You can get a lot of things done. You don't have to physically go in the office. But the flip side is you just feel like you're never off.
Yeah.
You get an email on Thanksgiving or whatever. It's like, gosh. So again, it's good and bad. The best thing I think is that GPS.
Oh yeah.
That's hugely helpful.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started working, I don't know if I'm going off topic.
No, that's good.
When I first started working, I had this very similar job, whatever, to what I do now. You know, just travel around, meet with people in their offices, and you know, a couple different states, do a lot of driving. So now, you know, I just need to know the address. You know, good, right? I just plug it in the Waze, and I'm like, good to go,
easy.
No matter where I am. But back then, I used to have to prepare, like, okay, I'm going from my house to this office in Greenville, South Carolina, and I had to print out, because we had MapQuest. We had the internet then, so I had to print out, like, the printout. I had to print it out, the step-by-step directions from home to the Greenville office, and then from the Greenville office to whatever, some other office in South Carolina, then from that office to the place we're having dinner with the other group, and then to the hotel, and then from the hotel to, you know, I had to, and so I had to stack, you know, I had to print it out to stack, so I just go through, but then all of a sudden you get like a cancellation, you're like, well, wait, now what? Like, how am I supposed to get from here to like the hotel? I know how to get from here to the dinner to the hotel. I don't know how to get from here to the hotel. So then you had to kind of literally used to ask people for direction. You go to the gas station and be like, hey, how do you get to like this area? Then you get close enough, then you ask more people. So like that's been obviously a huge help. But I think that was just funny how that's how we used to have to do it. Had to step by step.
Yeah, I mean things definitely changed a lot, because like I've never even like considered asking someone for directions, because I never really had to. I've always had a phone in my pocket. Yeah, I could type it in my phone. You know.
Oh, it's so huge. And then obviously, I don't know if I ever told you this, but you know, my dad and I used to drive me around to all these different baseball games that we had, right? And as I got older, it was in places we hadn't been a lot, right? And so I had to go to this whatever basement. They would tell me where it is and give me the address, and that was even before the internet. So we would be driving around. We're like, all right, we know we're close. And our whole thing is he'd be driving and I'd be looking up. It's like, there's some lights. Like, go towards the lights. Yeah. And we drive, somehow we get towards the light. Like, there we go, there's the stadium. We get to that park or whatever, not stadium, but we get to the park. Yeah, so that was funny. And then we didn't have like those group texts. So when he was coaching these little teams that we'd have, the little kid teams, and we had rain out or whatever. I remember like it was like a phone tree. You ever hear that?
No, actually.
All right, so phone tree is you'd hand that out at the beginning of the season. And so essentially it would be, hey, say my dad was a coach, like he would make the decision to cancel the practice because of rain. So, and then he would call one person to cancel it. And then that person's job was to call someone else. If that person didn't answer, he had to call the next person, right? But if they did answer, then so everybody called one person.
Yeah.
So you just boop, 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 and everybody would get a phone call because everyone was responsible to tell one other person. And they all had the same person. Like, for the whole year, my responsibility was to call Tyler and let him know that he's out. And if not, I'd have to call the next person. Now we just text the whole group. And we're like, all right, we're good. So those things change.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, because that's funny. I've never even heard of a phone tree before. But...
Yeah, that's the way we did it. So they had to call people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What moment in your life would you say that, you're either like the most proud of yourself or, just like any story like involving like a very hard thing you had to deal with? Like it could be like a, hard class you had to pass or like promotion or anything like that. Or...
Oh man, that's like a job interview question, dude. Well, obviously what I'm most proud of is my kids, right? That's having fun. That's what I'm most proud of by far. But if you want to talk about what I'm most proud of from a work standpoint, I guess it would be, well, I guess two things. I guess career wise, we had a decent job when I first got when I first moved to Atlanta. I had a decent job, and then I decided to literally quit that job and go back to business school. So that was I was proud of that. I made that decision because that was a tough one to make. Because I tried to do it part-time, so I was working and going to Georgia State, and it just didn't, it just didn't work well for me, just whatever. So then cutting myself off and like, all right, I'm quitting work, I'm going to go to Georgia. So I just did that. That was tough. And then got married, and then making the next decision is to move up to New York, because that's where my business was. So lived up there for a couple of years, and that was so that was fun. So I was really proud of the fact that I sucked it up and like made a big decision early in life too, right? So it was early, and that's what you can the beauty of what your guys' age now is you can take on these massive risks, because that could have been a disaster. Right? But my life wasn't all that complicated at the time anyway, so it wasn't. I can't afford to have much of a disaster now, so I got to be somewhat careful, right? Still take risks, but you got to be a lot more careful.
It's definitely smart to take risks in your 20s, like while you still can, because once you get older, you have family, it's kind of hard to. You kind of have to like, your main focus is more so like providing for them, and you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job, like start a business or something. It's like, well, if that doesn't work, like how you're gonna pay, for your kids to eat and like live in a house or like.
Well, yeah, and so it's so that would be my advice too, is take those risks early. I probably didn't take enough of them. But take those risks early, right? So I don't know what that was so funny, but so when you're younger, you can just do whatever. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're only responsible. All you gotta do is make sure you can pay the rent, pay your car insurance, and you can eat whatever. Like you can survive with very little money. To eat, you can get by. So you could do a lot with a little. And then shoot, all you need is like a bed and a place to take a shower and Yeah, but once you get older and you have kids and stuff, and then it's
Mhm.
like, all right, well, I need to go to the doctor. You need to have stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
You need to be careful. But
Um. hmm. Yes. Talking about like family. Are there any stories from like when I was little that I might not necessarily remember, but like I don't know any
oh my
funny.
gosh, I'm sure there's a ton, dude.
Mhm.
When you were little, I'm trying to think. You caught me off guard on that one.
No.
So, come back to that. I got to think about that one.
Well, hold on. Let me see. Another. I don't know. Hmm. All right. So I'm kind of out of questions now.
You're doing fine. You asked a lot of questions.
Yeah. I mean. I don't even know. We can talk about for 15 more minutes. But
Well, just can you pause it? No, you can't. So, well, come up with some other questions.
I guess.
Would you ask about high school?
Yeah. I guess you have any like. You said you played obviously basketball in high school too and baseball. So like how was that? Any fun stories about basketball since we talk about baseball like most of the time?
Yeah.
Because I remember you saying that like basketball was actually your favorite sport to play.
Yeah, basketball is definitely my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is kind of funny. We learned this way after. But our coach we love our coach. He was younger though. He didn't seem younger at the time. He was like in his mid-20s. I remember we had a practice. I remember it was like a Saturday, kind of early afternoon, maybe mid-afternoon, and we couldn't do anything right. Like from the minute we got there, it was him, the coach, and his assistant JV coach. They were good buddies. And the assistant JV coach was rarely there because he did his own thing. But he was there that day. And it was early afternoon on a Saturday. And he is all over us. Like, this went on for like 20, 30 minutes. And we're all like, I don't know what we're doing wrong. Like, it doesn't seem like we're doing anything that bad. Like, we're not missing shots. We're paying attention. Like, he was just, like, finally takes the ball and he throws it up against the wall. He's like, get out of here. So he threw us out. You guys, you come back on Monday. You better be focused. You guys are not going to be able to win with this attitude. And we're like, so I all went to, Friendlies, which is like the ice cream place, like Denny's. I don't know what it's like here, but like kind of Waffle House type thing.
Yeah.
So we all went there and ate, and we're just like, what was that all about? Like that was, and we're trying to think back. I'm like, Mike, I don't think we were doing it. And everybody was like, I don't know. He was a bad move. Like, maybe we got to get focused because this isn't going to work. Well, then we learned later that whole thing was that he wanted to get us there so we at least got some running in because we certainly had to run.
Yeah. But
at the end of the day, he had to leave early because he was going to the Bruce Springsteen concert with the JV coach. So he had no intention of us being there for the whole time.
Yeah.
But he just wanted to make a point like, all right, well, maybe we can get him here, we can run him, and then scare him so they're like really ready to go on Monday. Which is exactly what he did. We didn't know about the Bruce Springsteen thing for, years down the road. Saw him later. He's like, oh yeah, that's because we had the Bruce Springsteen concert. We just wanted to kick you guys out and prove a point. So that was funny. But,
so you said you ended up seeing him years later? Like,
yeah.
Where'd you see him?
Oh, just at a reunion type thing.
That's cool.
I don't see him that much, but we had a reunion. We had another funny story. A good buddy of mine, I grew up with him since I was little. He was like one of the guys that would shoot from the outside, right? He was pretty good. But very cocky. And we had this one game. We always played after the girls. So it was like the girls would play, and then we play right after. And so we went through the whole first half. We were playing, and he had missed a bunch of shots, like, and he kept,
Mm-hmm.
and he was off, and then he gets in the locker room, and we're like, dude, man, you gotta stop. He goes, that ball, something's wrong with that ball. And we're like, what? We're all like, the ball? Like, something's wrong with the ball?
Yeah.
And we were just like, just take some responsibility out, I mean, just because he was just a cocky guy. He was missing shots, and he's like blaming it on the ball. We're like, this is so unbelievable. And so whatever, we went through the halftime and we come back out, and literally within like 2 minutes in the second period, the referee stops the game because he was throwing the ball in. He's like, I can see him looking at the ball. And he looks at the other ref. He's like, this is a girl's ball. And I was like, I told you it was a ball. I knew it was something wrong with that ball. Really we played the whole first half with a girl's ball, which is lighter and smaller, right? And that's why he was missing these shots. But we were all over him. Don't blame the ball. You jerk. It's like, ball's wrong. Something's wrong with the ball. So that was funny. Oh, man. I had another story. I don't know if this is the stuff you want to talk about.
No, that's good.
And another story when I got knocked out in a game and I didn't even know it. That was interesting. So I can't remember exactly what happened. So whatever, I'm like on the wing and the ball was coming this way, and so I was about to catch it, and the defender came in to try to steal it. And I guess he got me right in the face, and I fell down. So it got me really good. I was like, boom, he got me. They foul, right? Got me in the face. I fell down, and then I look up, and coach is there, picking me up, and I went to go sit down. And what I didn't realize until like the next day, where I happened to be in his office watching like tape of the game. Well, what actually happened was I got hit, fell down. He literally ran over, started screaming at the ref. Then he went and started screaming at the other coach because it was a pretty rough play.
Yeah.
And then he came over. So I got knocked out. I didn't even know. I just woke up, was like out. And I was probably out there for like, I don't know, 10 seconds. Yeah. Maybe 20, I don't know. But I didn't know that until after. When I watched it, I'm like, wait a second. My recollection was I got hit in the face, fell down, and you were right there. He's like, no, I did this, that, and the other. So that was before all the concussion things. So they didn't take it as seriously as they should. But
I mean, nowadays they take it very seriously. Like when you watch NFL, the whole like Tua thing.
Well, what's his name was out today, Matt Stafford. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He was on concussion protocol. Well, the Tua thing was crazy. Yeah. That was nuts.
Yeah, that was definitely very like a scary sight, seeing him like that. But a lot of people were saying like he wasn't going to play the whole season, and then he was back like 2 or 3 weeks later. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, but
well, I mean they keep him a lot safer now, obviously, than they used to. Like rules change, but still, I think there's probably a lot of hitting going on that hopefully some of these things work. But I think especially keeping them out is probably, I don't know, but it would seem to be super helpful. Yeah. But I do think getting bashed in the head a lot, it's probably not a good thing. But
yeah. That's why I'm kind of glad I didn't play football, because there's stories of a lot of football players that have brain problems when they get older and stuff.
Well, a lot of those guys, if you think about it, you played since you were like, say, 5 or 6, and you play all the way, say you retire when you're like 32, 33, you probably got a lot of concussions. Yeah. I mean, some very mild that you just didn't even realize. But it's almost like so you wonder. Yeah. I don't know if I wonder if they had more concussions back before they had the helmets, because it seems like the helmets are super helpful, but I think, like, I don't know, you ever see those pictures? I never watched a game like that, but they didn't, they just had those, like, leather helmets.
Yeah, I see this.
I don't think they, like, hit as hard because they knew, like, dude, man, I could get myself hurt. So I'm sure they didn't go in there, like,
Yeah, if you have a helmet on, you're a lot more likely to go head first.
Yeah, you think you're invisible.
Yeah, invincible, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, You know, obviously you play basketball and baseball in high school, but college is a whole nother level. So what was probably like the harsh adjustment going from like high school baseball to like college baseball?
High school, that every single player is like the best on their high school team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned that really quickly from a pitching perspective, like right away in the fall. Typically in high school, like you can just throw like straight fastballs to the kids at the bottom of the order. They're just not going to hit it, right? You know, as a good pitcher, you can just get them out, right?
Yeah.
So that's always the thought is right. Just throw strikes to those guys. And so I was in like the number 8 hitter, maybe the number 9 hitter, whatever it was. You know, I threw like 3 fastballs. Boom, boom. I gave up 2 hits. Coach comes out. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm just trying to get ahead." I said, "These are the bottom of the order." He's like, "You know what?" He says in the middle of the game, he goes, "Do you know why they're in the bottom of the order?" I'm like, "Because they can't hit." No, because they can't hit a curveball. Everyone at this level can hit a fastball.
Yeah.
He's like, "That's why. If they could hit a curveball, they'd be batting third. Throw them curveballs." So I'm like, now I get it. Yeah. So that was it. You definitely learned that. The speed of the game is so much faster.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it because as a pitcher, you just get, you know, or whatever. As a player, you just kind of grow with it. But I had that. I don't know if I ever told you that story where it was my senior year, and we had a whole situation that came up where all of a sudden I had to pinch run. Did I ever tell you this story? So I had to pinch run in a game, and it was like the last inning because I was fairly fast, whatever. But I just pitched. I didn't like get up to bat. I didn't play the field. I definitely didn't pinch run. So I was used to the speed of when I was pitching, like because I was familiar with that.
Yeah.
And man, I got on the first base, and I hadn't been on first base since I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Damn, man, this game's going fast!" Like, and somehow I got to second. I can't remember how, but I didn't steal or anything, I'm sure, but I got there, and we were 2 outs. There was a man on third. I was the man on second. I'm like, right, we had our best hitter up. I'm like, man, if he gets a hit, I can score the winning run.
Yeah.
And I was ready to do it, man. I was so excited, but I was like, you know, I was so excited about it. Sorry, that's my alarm. I was so excited about it, but then, so I got picked off second base by the catcher because I was playing high school baseball and they were playing college baseball. I got too far off. I'm like, well, he's not going to be able to throw me out. Well, yeah, he could. And he's like, he whipped it down there. I'm like, damn. So I dove back and like out. Coach was like, "How do you get picked off?" So I had to walk off. I was all dirty. And all my teammates were like, "Well, who does that?" Like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel like the position players were probably pissed, but I feel like the other pitchers probably.
Yeah. Well, everybody understood, but it was like, man. But I was just saying that's how the difference is. It's a totally
like
different.
difference between a college catcher and a high school catcher.
Yeah.
And also probably the difference between a college shortstop and a high school shortstop, be able to get the tag down like quicker, stuff like that. So.
That was no doubt. But you know, but college athletics or base whatever was fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Sorry, I should have turned this off.
No, that's fun.
Yeah. So it's definitely it's a lot of work. You spend a ton of time. You know, and it's good, but you gotta realize like you gotta be regimented because you're practicing 3 hours a day, and then you got games.
Yeah.
Then you have I have a test on Friday. Oh, good. I have nothing on Thursday. Well, yeah, until the game on Wednesday gets rained out, and all of a sudden now you're playing Thursday. And you're like, shoot, I'm gonna be on the bus coming back. I gotta study for a final or a midterm or whatever. So you just always have to prepare way ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. Not only is it that bigger time commitment than high school, but like obviously me as a college student, like, you know, I kind of think it's hard enough with school, but then I couldn't imagine having to do school and baseball, like especially
But you would adjust. It's just a matter of you just like you don't have to think about it. I had it for like 2 weeks from October 15th till we went home for Christmas, and we didn't have much to do. And I was like, man, there's a lot of time. But you would definitely figure it out. But you just always have to, like, there's never a day that you're not going to do some work
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get it done. And so even though you think, oh, I can do it tomorrow, well, you never know. The coach can call practice tomorrow, and he's not going to say, oh, you don't have to go because he's going to say, well, you should have prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so freshman year was hard.
Yeah.
But I learned it pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so thank you for taking the time out of your day.
We're done?
Yeah, I really appreciate interviewing you. It was fun.
All right. Well, thanks. Good questions. Hope I answered them well.
No, you did. It was good.
Awesome. All right, Tyler.
All right,
Thanks, sir.
you.